Hi everyone, I am Zahara Rasheeda. I have created some practical questions of web programming and database management. So today I am going to explain you the fifth part of the 11th question. That means the 15th question. So this is the 11th question. We are going to talk about the fifth part of this 11th question. So that means I have created the fifth part as my 15th question. So this is the 15th question. 11, 12, 13 and 14 are the other parts of the 11th question. If you haven't watched them, please watch the tutorials. Otherwise you can't understand this question. Okay, now let's go to the first question. What is the database relationship between the supplier table and the GRN table? Write it down in the ER diagram. So that means they are telling to create the relationship between the supplier table and the GRN table. So this is the supplier table and this is the GRN table and this is the GRN table. So to create a relationship between the supplier table and GRN table, I will use a one-to-many relationship. For that, I will use this icon. First, I will click the mini table and then I will click the one table. So you can see the one-to-many relationship has been created. So this is how I should answer the first question. Now let's go to the second. What is the database relationship between the GRN table and the product table? Write it down in the ER diagram. So that means we should show the relationship between the GRN table and the product table. So this is the product table and this is the GRN table. To show the relationship between them, I will use a one-to-many relationship. First, I will click the mini table and then I will add the one table. So you can see the one-to-many relationship has been created. When I create the relationship between the supplier table and the GRN table, the supplier ID will be added to the GRN table. When I create the relationship between the product table and the GRN table, the product ID will be added to the GRN table as a foreign key. So as you know, there is a many-to-many relationship between the product table and the supplier table. When we create a many-to-many relationship, a table will be creating automatically using the as a relationship. So here I have renamed the table as GRN. Now let's go to the third question. What is the database relationship between the product table and the stock table? Write it down in the ER diagram. So that means we should write the relationship between the product table and the stock table. So this is the stock table and this is the product table. To create a relationship between these two tables, I will use a one-to-many relationship. First, I will click the mini table and then I will click the one table. So you can see when the stock table and the product table is having a one-to-many relationship, the stock ID will be added to the product table. In our fourth question, they have asked, what is the database relationship between the product table and the customer table? So they have asked what is the relationship between the product table and the customer table. So you know, the product table and the customer table, as you know, one customer can buy many products and many products can be bought by many customers. So therefore, a many-to-many relationship has been created. So when we create a many-to-many relationship, there will be a table creating automatically. So as that table, I have renamed the table as invoice. Now let's see the fifth question. What is the database relationship between the product table and the invoice table? Write it down in the year diagram. So that means we should show the relationship between the product table and the invoice table. So direct when we are connecting the customer table and the product table, there will be an automatically created table. So as that automatically created table, I have renamed it as invoice. And now, as the fifth question, I will create a one-to-many relationship between the product table and the invoice table. First, I will click the invoice table as many, and then the one table. So you can see the product ID have been added to the invoice table. Now let's go to the sixth question. What is the database relationship between the customer table and the invoice table? Write it down in the year diagram. So we need to create the relationship between the customer table and the invoice table. So to create the relationship between the customer table and the invoice table, first I will click the many table and then I will click the one table. So you can see when I create the relationship between the customer table and the invoice table, the customer ID have been added to the invoice table. So this is how we should answer the 15th question or the fifth part of the 11th question. So I have decided to talk the other parts of the 11th question in my next video. Hope you understood everything. If you are interested in the lesson, drop a like and feel free to drop your comment in the comment area. Don't forget to subscribe the channel. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.